Hello and welcome to the Lordly Verdict with me, Mitchell, Lord of my domain. Today we're going to be doing a special game to finally get out of the hiatus. Sorry for that, I haven't been beating games lately because I keep getting distracted. Today's review, I'm going to be reviewing Tomb Raider. I finally beat through it, got it on PSN dirt cheap, so it's time for Tomb Raider. And it's a pretty revolutionary series, if not revolutionary game. As Samus was the first heroine to be treated like a normal human being, where her being a woman was incidental to her characterization, at least until the lamented Other M, Lara was probably the first heroine to be treated as a fan-servicey sex object, even if the original Lara had a distinctive personality. This isn't to say she's not a good character. She is, especially when well written, but she's the first to have people look at her and just see boobs. Or at the very least, if she's not the first, she's certainly the one everyone remembers, the troop maker per se. And her games have kind of been struggling to find their place since the PS1 era. They only got back into the swing of things when Crystal Dynamics took over, probably because, honestly, after the first one, they sort of began steadily going downhill. The first was mainly famous because it was new and interesting, but the formula didn't survive very well and they didn't know quite how to shift it. Actually, this is the second reset within recent memory. In fact, it's the second reset under the same company. The first reset was when they took over the series and tried to leave the games past Tomb Raider Last Revelation behind them and get back to making Lara good and fun again. And this reset was because of their purchase by Square Enix. It wasn't apparently because of the negative reception of Underworld, their last game, but I might need to relook at it. And I know for certain they've been doing other ones in the same continuity, sort of in the between era. This reset takes it back to the very, very beginning, even more so than Tomb Raider Legend, which took you back to before she got famous. This is before she was even really Lara Croft. She was just Lara. She's fresh out of college, she doesn't even know how to fire a gun very well, and then she gets stuck on an island with insane cultists and a psychotic ghost of an ancient Japanese empress. Now she must journey to become a true hero, learn how to become the person she is destined to be. It's cliche. I mean, it was cliche when Gilgamesh was written. And it holds little real surprises, though a few minor tweaks. Bad guys kidnap Lara's best friend, who's the princess who needs saving. There's a person she cares about who dies tragically, a mentor who dies tragically. There's a person who goes against her and provides internal conflict. Reality says, wait, I'm going against the hero? And some other characters fill out space, including, of course, the idiot who you should have shot at Act 1, who betrays her 3 times. At least I think it's 3 times. It might have been a bit less or a bit more, but somewhere between 2 and 4 times. She doesn't even have a real 5-man band, as the saying goes. Heck, she doesn't even have a power trio. I mean, she gets 3 people she can rely upon at the end. 4 if you count the kidnappee. But they don't really do a lot, so it's really just her against the world. The bad guys all wear black hats, and the supernatural elements are actually foreshadowed a good bit so it doesn't come out of nowhere, but it's still kind of, I did not expect that. There's a few scenes of, you have to believe me, there's some really crazy stuff going on, and I know it sounds weird, but the ghost of an ancient Japanese empress is... What are you doing with that straitjacket? No, look, I can explain. Fortunately, Lara actually does a good job of explaining. She explains it in general terms. She makes sure that she pulls the, you know you can trust me, you know I'm not crazy card, and she makes sure to point out other reasons. That said, the plot was cliche, and I actually put down the 1800s. I forget why. I actually I prefer Time of Gilgamesh since it goes back even farther, and it's true, it's the traditional hero's journey. It was cliche by the time of Star Wars. Thing is, though, it works. It's a well done cliche. They focus squarely on Lara, and that's the trick. Everything is about her development and her feelings. The VA they got nails it out of the park and keeps you caring about her. It's not the kind of game you play over and over and over, but you know what? It's fun. I mean, the dialogue's nothing to write home about, and in fact, I can't even remember any specific lines by now. There's nothing really cringeworthy either, though. The only flaw is, well, they don't get into the character backstories enough, so a lot of the other characters are pretty one-dimensional. Like the guy who dies tragically, he had a kind of crush on Lara, but he never said anything. It barely even comes up. Still, the obligatory sacrifices are well done and actually feel meaningful. They're not gratuitous deaths like, say, Star Trek Generations, where Kirk falls under a bridge. It's clear why each of the characters didn't have another way out. In a nice touch, when the hero says no one else dies, she actually succeeds. No deaths after that point, but let's go through the deaths. The death of the tragic loved one. He went alone into a dangerous situation and got pinned under a bunch of rocks. By the time you get there, he's covered in rubble. You don't get to see how this happens, but it's clear Lara arrived too late. He can't get out of there. Bad guys are coming right now. There's no way out. As for the mentor who dies, besides the fact that he gets beat the heck up, Lara's been knocked out of it in a helicopter crash. He can barely walk. Bad guy throws an axe. It's about to hit them. He turns and tries to push her to the ground, but he just doesn't turn fast enough. It gets him in the back. And the third guy, Grim, who's very, very Scottish, as in he headbutted the Loch Ness Monster. Or so he says. I like this guy. He only gets like 2 seeds, but they're good seeds. He just takes out 15 guys, but the last one manages to get a lucky shot. And in fact, they never actually confirm he's definitely dead. I mean, he's as dead as you can get without supernatural elements, but Lara has actually survived worse. It's not a feel-good plot. It ends happily for everyone, at least in the sense they all get away. And Lara, though she suffers emotional damage, they all leave the inn, and so, yay? It's nothing to write home about. It's definitely above average, and here's one thing that gets me interested. There are rumors based on an alternate version of the soundtrack that it was originally going to have a very downer ending. She was going to fail to save the princess. And you know what? I like that they changed it. If they'd given it the downer ending, it would have killed the momentum and killed the story. You have to be very careful with downer endings because you need to make sure the people still feel like they spent 20 hours playing a game that's worthwhile. Still, it's just nothing to write home about, but it's above average. I really do have to compliment the writer, though, especially since it's clear she put a lot of herself in Lara, and it shows. Lara feels like a real person, and she succeeds in carrying the show, like other games such as, say, I actually blanked on the game and forgot to put it into my notes. The latest, the one on the one with the chick with the ghost. It has William Dafoe in it. Hold on one second. Okay, seriously. I normally don't do this in reviews, but I am going to Google something in the middle of a review because this is getting me annoyed. Yeah, I said his name wrong, and it is not Beyond Two Souls with Ellen Page. That is the game. It's very much comparable to Beyond Two Souls, where Ellen Page just fails to carry the show. It's really well acted, but since her character doesn't have enough coherency, it doesn't work. Unfortunately, there's a producer who is trying to make her Moe, someone who needed to be protected. Dude, talk to your writers. Just talk to the writers so you're both saying the same thing. Look up that controversy. The guy chose to advertise a scene where it looked like Lara was about to get raped. Seriously, it really did legitimately look like the person was about to rape her. He may have even said the R word. It's taken out of context. There's a lot more to it than that. It turns out he was actually just trying to kill her. I hate to say that makes it better, but it does. It was some bad advertising. He put it right after the female writer talking about, yeah, I tried to put myself into Lara's shoes. I even gave her my own major, etc., etc. It's the kind of thing I'm about to rant over, but I'm going to avoid doing it. In part because I actually lost the rant. I mean, I had a good rant going on in my notes, but I deleted it and it's not coming back to me. Still, it's just, dude. Outside the plot, well, it's just done very well. It's not a full open world game, but it's not purely linear. The way I describe it is it's a line that opens up into a circle, then goes in a line, circle, line, circle, line. It's not as much as Assassin's Creed or Skyrim, or even Batman Arkham Asylum, though Asylum's actually the closest. You have to unlock definite new areas, explore around that area, go in a line to the new area, etc., etc. You can fast track to any previous level and use items gained in later levels to unlock stuff, and exploration is rewarded. Though this is really interesting, you rarely, if ever, have to go back to the first level. Essentially, once you enable exploration in a level, if there's something that you can't get yet because of an item, you're going to have to circle back to that area again. So if you follow the line of the plot, you'll never really have to backtrack unless you get lazy and don't explore. And I want to talk more about exploration being rewarded. See, one of the other games I really dislike is Assassin's Creed Rogue. It has a lot of exploration, but it doesn't reward it well. You're essentially getting 20 items plus for one special item that's really not worth it. By the time you get that item, you've beaten the game. So there's no point for it. For this, you're rewarded with a lot of miniature story pieces, which are actually interesting. Lara gets to show off her archaeology knowledge. She finds an artifact and goes, oh, hey, I know about this. It's blah, blah, blah. It comes from blah, blah, blah. And look at this additional little detail. And there's some generously funny lines in it. Like one that I actually forgot until I looked at it. It's, well, she finds an item and says it might be from X time. This is really rare. Oh, hold on. It says made in China in the bottom. And you can fast track to any previous level, as I mentioned earlier. And it does a good job of having set pieces, too. They actually feel like they're directed by Michael Bay in a good sense. Lots of buildings explode, lots of falling down slopes. Chaos goes everywhere. You're going, holy crap, holy crap! And it doesn't have the flaws that Michael Bay is rather infamous for either. There's good characterization and it's not bloated. The actual fighting is good too. Gameplay is quick and dynamic and you rarely get stuck in cover. They help you a lot by having enemies get grenades fast, and headshots are easy. You get a bow which is powerful but slow to use, and it works. If you get good with the bow, you don't really need other weapons. But they give you a submachine gun for quicker, I've got to take out 50 guys at once kind of stuff. It even comes with a grenade launcher. You get a shotgun for when they get up too close, and your pistol is your emergency quick-fire weapon. And the weapon upgrades are a lot of them, extremely helpful, and you can actually upgrade weapons to higher stuff. They also give you a good bit of skill upgrades, so you keep feeling like Lara's getting better, though not all of them are useful. It's still enough that you want to get them all before the game ends. I could go a bit more, but really, you've got the gist. It does some fun gameplay, it has a cliche but fun plot, and some nice set pieces. And it's actually pretty dang cheap. $19, and sometimes it's on sale. You can probably find it on sale for even more if you go to the right shop or GameStop. I'm rating it a solid 4 out of 5 with one minor detail. Do not, I repeat, do not grab the definitive edition. It's not worth it. It doesn't have anything extra, and it's just graphics for the sake of graphics. And there's really no point in that. The game's graphics have already reached the point that you're just doing minor levels to maybe get it off the uncanny valley, and this doesn't really fall in the uncanny valley. She looks like a real person, she can emote, she can carry a scene well. More would be just pointless. It doesn't need just a little bit of more graphic resolution, just a little bit more grime. All in all, I rank this a solid 4 out of 5. Go play it and enjoy. It is a good game.